Big Daddy Trump, who is
The Mark Thompson Show.
78 years old, I guess. Isn't that his latest birthday was 78? And for the first time in a while, I've seen discussion of Donald Trump's inability to put coherent thoughts together, the things that you would associate maybe with a diminishing mental acuity. For the first time, I'm seeing that reported in a paper that seems to be resistant to reporting that, and that's the New York Times. They finally did a big story on Donald Trump and his lack of mental acuity. And they actually, the headline was Trump's speeches, increasingly angry and rambling, reignite the question of age. Now, this is, again, a story that they have resisted doing at the New York Times. And I know the New York Times has this image, and certainly they take a lot of incoming fire from the right for being this super lefty type paper. I don't see them that way at all. In fact, I think they sane wash Donald Trump in a lot of ways. They play the both sides of every situation. I think the media generally does that. There is a sane washing about Trump that really resists the basic facts that this guy is, if you will, a rambling fool. He has a bunch of followers, fervent followers, sufficient enough in number that this broken electoral system might actually be exploited to the point that he regains power. But he is a profane, rambling fool. And that is what the New York Times finally comes around to. Former President Donald Trump vividly recounted how the audience at his climactic debate with Vice President Kamala Harris was on his side. Except there was no audience at that debate. The debate was held in an empty hall. No one, quote, went crazy, as Mr. Trump put it, because no one was there. Anyone can misremember, of course, but the debate had just been held a week earlier, and it was a fairly memorable moment. It's hardly the only time that Mr. Trump has seemed confused, forgetful, incoherent, or disconnected from reality lately. In fact, it happens so often these days that it no longer even generates much attention, they say. He rambles, he repeats himself, he roams from thought to thought, some of them hard to understand, some of them unfinished, some of them factually fantastical. He voices outlandish claims, seem to be made up out of whole cloth. He digresses into bizarre tangents about golf, about sharks, about his own, quote, beautiful body. Huh. He relishes a great day in Louisiana, that's a quote, after spending the day in Georgia. He expresses fear that North Korea, quote, is trying to kill me, when he presumably means Iran. As late as last month, Mr. Trump was still speaking as if he were running against President Biden. With Biden out, Trump is 78, now the oldest major party nominee for president in history. He would be the oldest president if he wins, and he finishes his term at 82. A review of his rallies, interviews, statements, social media posts finds signs of change since he first took the political stage in 2015. He's always been untethered to truth, but the passage of time and his speeches, they've grown darker, harsher, longer, angrier, less focused, more profane, and increasingly fixated on the past. So they go on, but they actually quantify it because, that's what they like to do. 32% more negative words than positive words, compared with 21% in 2016, etc. He uses swear words 69% more often than he used to when he first ran. That's a trend that could reflect what experts call disinhibition. You know the number of people who are in the world of psychology and psychotherapy that have analyzed this guy. I mean, there seems to be chapter and verse that has been written on how he's really stepped off the curb in terms of mental acuity, but we really haven't seen a lot in the way of mainstream media, and certainly, you know, the New York Times is as mainstream and as media as you can get, and who focused on this, but here it is. Mr. Trump frequently reaches to the past for his frame of reference, often to the 1980s and 1990s when he was in his tabloid-fueled heyday. He cites fictional characters from that era like Hannibal Lecter, asks where Johnny Carson is, bring back Johnny. Ruminates on how attractive Cary Grant was, the most handsome man, he said. He asked supporters whether they remember the landing in New York of Charles Lindbergh, who actually landed in Paris, and that was long before Trump was born. But this is all the riffing and the general unhinged quality that Trump has. Still, I have to say this. His supporters with a different vision of the future, they overlook all of this. They overlook, in my judgment, and this has nothing to do with his mental acuity, they overlook the fact that the guy tried to engineer a coup to overturn an election and remain in power. I don't think there's anything else you need to know about a candidate on a ticket besides that.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.